captain, saying, "What art thou about to do? For this man is a Roman." And the chief captain came and said to him, "Tell me, art thou a Roman?" He said, "Yes." And the chief captain answered, "For a great sum I obtained this freedom." And Paul said, "But I was born free." Immediately, therefore, they departed from him who were about to examine him. And the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. On the morrow, wishing to know the certainty wherefore he was accused by the Jews, he released him, and commanded the chief priests and all the council to come together. And he brought Paul down, and set him before them. Chapter 23. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, "Men, brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God unto this day." And the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, "God will smite thee, thou whited wall. And dost thou sit to judge me according to the law, and command me to be smitten contrary to law?" And they that stood by said, "Revilest thou God's high priest?" And Paul said, "I knew not, brethren, that he is high priest. For it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of a ruler of thy people." And Paul, knowing that the one part were Sadducees, and the other Pharisees, cried out in the council, "Men, brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. For the hope of the resurrection of the dead I am now judged. And when he had said this, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, nor angel, nor spirit, but Pharisees acknowledge both. And there arose a great clamor, and the scribes of the party of the Pharisees arose, and contended, saying, "We find no evil in this man, but if a spirit spoke to him, or an angel." And a great dissension arising, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should be pulled in pieces by them, commanded the soldiery to go down, and to take him by force from among them, and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him, and said, "Be of good courage, for as thou didst fully testify the things concerning me at Jerusalem, so must thou testify also at Rome." And when it was day, the Jews banded together, and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And they were more than 40 who made this conspiracy. And they came to the chief priests and the elders, and said, "We bound ourselves under a great curse, to taste nothing until we have slain Paul. Now therefore do ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he bring him down to you, as though ye would ascertain more exactly the matters concerning him, and we, before he comes near, are ready to kill him." And the son of Paul's sister, hearing of their lying in wait, went and entered into the castle, and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions to him, and said, "Bring this young man to the chief captain, for he has something to tell him." So he took him, and brought him to the chief captain, and said, "Paul, the prisoner, called me to him, and asked me to bring this young man to thee, as he has something to say to thee." Then the chief captain took him by the hand, and went aside privately, and asked, "What is it thou hast to tell me?" And he said, "The Jews agreed to desire thee that thou wouldst bring down Paul tomorrow into the council, as though they would inquire somewhat more exactly concerning him. But do not thou yield to them. For of them more than 40 men are lying in wait for him, who bound themselves with an oath neither to eat nor to drink till they have killed him. And now they are ready, looking for the promise from thee." The chief captain therefore dismissed the young man, having charged him to say to no one that thou didst show these things to me. And calling to him 2 or 3 of the centurions, he said, "Make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and 70 horsemen, 200 spearmen, at the 3rd hour of the night. And let them provide beasts, that they may set Paul thereon, and bring him safe to Felix the governor." And he wrote a letter after this manner: "Claudius Lysias, to the most excellent governor Felix, sends greeting. "This man was taken by the Jews, and was about to be killed by them. But I came upon them with the soldiery, and rescued him, having learned that he is a Roman. And wishing to know the crime for which they were accusing him, I brought him down into their council, whom I found to be accused concerning questions of their law, but having nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bonds. And being informed that a plot was about to be laid against the man, I sent straightway to thee, having also commanded the accusers to say before thee what they had against him. Farewell."
The soldiers therefore, as was commanded them, took up Paul, and brought him by night to Antipatris. But on the morrow, leaving the horsemen to go with him, they returned to the castle, who, when they had entered into Caesarea, and delivered the letter to the governor, presented Paul also before him. And having read it, he asked of what province he was. And learning that he was from Cilicia, he said, "I will hear thee fully, when thy accusers are also come." And he commanded him to be kept in the praetorium of Herod. Chapter 24. And after 5 days, the high priest Ananias came down with the elders and a certain orator named Tertullus, who informed the governor against Paul. And he having been called, Tertullus began to accuse him, saying, "Seeing that by thee we enjoy great quietness, and that very worthy deeds are done for this nation through thy providence, in every way and everywhere, we accept it, most noble Felix, with all thankfulness. But not to hinder thee too long, I pray thee that thou wouldst hear us of thy clemency a few words. For we have found this man to be a pest, and exciting disturbance among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, who also attempted to profane the temple, whom we took, and desired to judge according to our law. But Lysias, the chief captain, came, and with great violence took him away out of our hands, commanding his accusers to come before thee, from whom thou canst thyself ascertain, by examination, concerning all these things whereof we accuse him." And the Jews also joined in assailing him, saying that these things were so. Then Paul, the governor having beckoned to him to speak, answered, "Knowing that thou hast been for many years a judge for this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself, inasmuch as thou mayest know that there are not more than 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem to worship, and neither in the temple did they find me disputing with any one, or causing a tumult of the people, nor in the synagogues, nor in the city. Nor can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. But this I acknowledge to thee, that according to the way which they call a sect, so I worship the God of our fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and the prophets, having a hope toward God, which these themselves also look for, that there will be a resurrection both of the just and unjust. Therefore do I also myself strive to have always a conscience void of offense toward God and men. And after many years I came to bring alms to my nation, and offerings, amidst which they found me purified in the temple, not with a crowd nor with tumult, but certain Jews from Asia caused it, who ought to be here before thee, and make accusation if they had aught against me. Or let these themselves say what crime they found in me while I stood before the council, except for this one voice that I cried, standing among them, "Concerning the resurrection of the dead, I am judged by you this day." And Felix put them off, knowing the things concerning the way more accurately, saying, "When Lysias the chief captain shall come down, I will fully inquire into your matters." And he commanded the centurion that he should be guarded, and should have indulgence, and to forbid none of his acquaintance to minister to him. And after certain days Felix came with his wife Drusilla, who was a Jewess, and sent for Paul, and heard him concerning the faith in Christ. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and the judgment to come, Felix trembled and answered, "Go thy way for this time. When I have a convenient season, I will call for thee." He hoped also that money would be given him by Paul, Wherefore he sent for him the oftener, and conversed with